Alright, section 5.3, multiplying polynomials. Alright, so this first slide here, we've actually done a lot of this in section 5.1. Okay, to multiply polynomials, we want to multiply the coefficient parts together, and we want to multiply the variable parts together. So on number 1 here, we have 6 times 4, which is 24. And then x times x, well, that's another way of writing x times x is writing it as x squared, because that is what x squared means. Okay? All right, for 2, again, look at the coefficient parts. So negative 7 times 0.2, so that's going to give me a negative 1.4. And then the x's, x squared, x to the 5th, add the exponents together, that gives you x to the 7th. All right, and then for 3 here, we have fractions. Again, we can do fractions. You're fine. Negative times a negative, so I know my answer is positive. Then the numerator is 1 times 2 gives me 2 up top. 3 times 9 gives me 27 on bottom. And then with your x's, you have x to the 5th and x to the 1st. And again, when you multiply, you add, so that gives me x to the 6th. All right, you can try these practice, and then I'll write the answers. All right, for 1, 5 times 2 is 10, and then the y to the first gives me y to the second. All right, for 2, you got 5 times a negative 0.4, so negative 2. And then z to the 3rd and z to the 5th give me z to the 8th. And then for 3, if I multiply, negative times a negative is a positive again. So I got 1 times 7 up top. 9 times 8 on the denominator gives me 72. And then for my exponents and my variables, 6 and 3 give me b to the 9th. All right. Now we also have the distributive property. Okay, so when we apply that with polynomials, okay, we're just going to multiply each part out. Okay, and I'm going to write this out once. You're going to have 5x times 2x to the 3rd, and then plus the 5x times the 6. All right, then you do each individual part. The coefficients, 5 times 2 is 10. And x to the 1st, x to the 3rd gives me x to the 4th, because I add the exponents, plus 5 times 6 is 30, with the x hanging out. Okay? All right, if you get 3 terms, same thing. You're going to multiply that negative 3x squared by each individual part. All right, negative 3x squared times the 5x squared. All right, plus the negative 3x squared times the 6x plus the negative 3x squared times the negative 1. And then you will go to work. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. X squared and x squared will go to x to the 4th. All right, we'll have a negative 3 times the 6, so minus 18. X squared and x give you x to the 3rd, because I add those exponents. And then negative 3 times the negative 1 give me plus 3 with the x squared. All right, so again, we distribute. Multiply the coefficients. 3 times 9 is 27. X to the 1st, x to the 5th, that gives me x to the 6th. And then when I say 3x times the 11, 3 times 11 is 33. And then I also have the x. Okay, so you don't have to write the intermediate step here. This is just what you're doing. A lot of stuff like that I do in my head. All right, for b, negative 6x to the 3rd times the 2x squared, so negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. X to the 3rd and x squared gives me x to the 5th. Negative 6 times the negative 9 gives me a positive 54, because negative times negative is a positive. X to the third and x to the first gives me x to the fourth. And then negative 6 times the 2 gives me a minus 12. And then I have the x to the third hanging along with it. All right. We have two binomials. Okay. Binomials, we have two terms multiplied by two terms. All right. It's basically distributive property twice. Okay, you want to multiply the first term in the first parentheses, 3x, by both the 2x, so 3x times the 2x, and you also want to multiply the 3x by the negative 5, so plus 3x times the negative 5. All right, and then you need to come through and multiply the 2, that second term of the first parentheses, by both parts, so plus 2 times 2x, and then distribute the 2 through the negative 5 as well, so plus 2 times negative 5. And then do each individual term. 3 times 2 gives me 6, x times x gives me x squared, 3x times negative 5 gives me a negative 15x, 2 times 2x gives me plus 4x, and 2 times a negative 5 gives me a minus 10. And then you want to finish up by combining like terms, which are usually the two terms there in the middle. And so my answer here is going to be 6x squared. When I combine these two, negative 15 and 4, that gives me a minus 11x minus 10. All right, so again, let's look at practice 5 over here. 5x times 2x. 5 times 2 is 10. X times x is x squared. All right, 5x times the 3. 5 times the 3 gives me 15, so 15x. All right, then we'll come through and multiply the negative 2. Make sure you do the negative with it. Negative 2 times the 2x gives me a minus 4x. And negative 2 times the positive 3 gives me a minus 6. Combine the like terms. So we end up having 10x squared plus 11x minus 6. All right, example 6. You have a binomial squared. Okay, previously when we had a power out here, everything got the power. But since there's a minus or a plus in here, what we really need to do is we need to rewrite it out like what it means. 2x minus y times 2x minus y. Okay, don't just square each individual part here because you'll be missing two little parts. Okay, so rewrite the binomial by itself and then use that distributive property. 2x times the 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x gives me x squared. 2x times the negative y. That'll be minus 2 and then xy. Then take the negative y and multiply it through. Negative y times the 2. I'll put it in alphabetical order, so minus 2xy. And negative y times negative y is going to be a positive and then y squared. Combine the like terms. So you end up getting 4x squared minus 4xy plus y squared. All right, same thing on the practice 6 here. Rewrite it. 5x minus 3y times 5x minus 3y. And then use your distributive property. 5x times 5x gives me 25x squared. 5x times the negative 3 is 3y, gives me negative 15xy. Then we come through and multiply the negative 3 through. Negative 3y times the 5x gives me another minus 15xy. Negative 3y times the negative 3y gives me a positive 9y squared. Combine like terms and you end up getting 25x squared minus 30xy plus 9y squared. All right, and then finally practice 7. We have a binomial times a trinomial. It's pretty much the same thing, you just have more terms. So we have t plus 2 times 3t squared minus 4t plus 2. All right, but I'm still just going to use the distributive property. T times 3t squared. That'll give me 3t to the third. T times a negative 4t. I'll have the negative 4, and then t times t gives me t squared. I'll have t times the 2. That gives me plus 2t. Then I'll come through and multiply the 2 through. 2 times 3t squared gives me plus 6t squared. 2 times negative 4t gives me a minus 8t. And then 2 times 2 gives me 4. Okay? And then combine like terms. The 3t cubed is the only t to the third term. And I've got negative 4t squared plus 6t squared. Negative 4 plus 6 gives me plus 2t squared. I've got positive 2t minus 8t gives me a minus 6t. And then I've got the plus 4. That's it. All right, so practice that one. Pause it. All right, this is how it's done. Y plus 4 times 2y squared minus 3y plus 5. All right, y times 2y squared will give me 2y to the third. Y times minus 3y will give me minus 3y squared. Y times 5 will give me 5y. 4 times 2y squared will give me 8y squared. 4 times minus 3y will give me minus 12y. And 4 times 5 will give me plus 20. Combine like terms. We got 2y to the third. Minus 3y squared plus 8y squared, so plus 5y squared. 5y minus 12y gives me minus 7y, and then the plus 20. All right, so again, practice these. Go to my lab of mastering. Email me if you have any questions.